Good morning, and welcome to the Lasers Know Before You Go Drop versus IBO is either right for me. My name is Wendy Kinchin. I am a retirement benefits supervisor here at Lasers, and I'm going to be spending the next couple of hours with you talking about two very specific types of retirement here at Lasers, the Deferred Retirement Option Plan known as DROP, and the Initial Benefit Option known as IBO. These are both methods of retirement that allow you to retire with lump sum amount of money. However, how you go about getting that lump sum money is very different, and it's very different for most people out there. It's not the same for you and your coworker or you and your sister. So retirement is very specific. It is very personal. And so I want to welcome you here. I am very glad that you are here. And hopefully by the end of the next couple of hours, you'll have a much better understanding and insight into the drop retirement type, as well as the initial benefit option retirement type. So without further ado, let's get started. You are attending the drop versus IBO. We do use a lot of acronyms here at Lasers, so we did put a short list together of some of the most common acronyms that we use. Lasers has one office. We are in Baton Rouge off of United Plaza Boulevard. You can contact us by calling our local or our toll-free number. You can also go to our website, lasersonline.org. You can go to our website, lasersonline.org, and where it says contact us, you can just click there and that'll bring you and let you submit that email to us. We do have our Members Guide to Retirement on our website. I kind of call this the holy grail of retirement. This is one of the most important Lasers resources that's at your fingertips. It contains detailed information about membership, categories of our plans, information on different types of retirement. So it is broken down by subject. Each topic is broken down by a chapter. Not every chapter is going to pertain to you. This is not meant to be read cover to cover, so you will not read it cover to cover. For instance, chapter 11 is for alcohol and tobacco agents. If you're not an alcohol and tobacco agent, then there's no need for you to ever look at that chapter, right? But pull this Members Guide up on your computer and bookmark it or highlight it. But back to the Members Guide, it does contain a lot of really detailed information. And not only does it contain detailed information, but it also has examples. And I love that, because if I go and read something and then I get to see an example after, it really kind of helps it sink in. Not to mention that I refer to this guide quite often. Someone may ask me a question and I'm not 100% sure. So go and highlight, go and bookmark, make this your go-to for retirement. The information that we're providing today in this presentation focuses only on those members who are allowed to do drop or IBO, where their money is going to go to the Laser Self-Directed Plan. It's specific to members who are eligible to retire or enter drop on or after January 1 of 2004. If you were eligible prior to that, then this presentation is not going to be specific to you. We do use a lot of examples in this presentation. However, those are strictly made up examples. The calculations, the estimates, the examples, we made those up, and they're based on all kinds of different information, such as a member's age, their years of service credit, their final average, compensation, things such as that. So these are examples that we made up. So we just wanted to be able for you to see how it works, but it's not specific to anyone. Also, I know that a very big question out there is, what happens to my unused sick and annual leave? At retirement, if you have unused sick and annual leave, you are eligible to have that leave as an additional retirement benefit. You can either convert it to years of service credit, or you can take a actuarially reduced lump sum payment for it. Throughout this presentation, we are not discussing leave at all. We mention it maybe 2 or 3 times, but in this presentation, we're not taking leave into consideration at all. We're going to assume that the people in these examples have no unused sick or annual leave. Let's talk about lasers. When I tell people that I work for retirement, they're like, oh, great. Tell me about my retirement. Tell me about my 401k. We've all kind of heard of the 401k, right? It's pretty synonymous with retirement. 401k is really more of a private industry type of retirement benefit. What Lasers is a 401a. We are a defined benefit plan. When we created Lasers in 1946, we were established by the legislature. Membership in Lasers is mandatory for most state employees. We are governed by a board of trustees. And the thing of it is, when you start to receive your retirement benefit, your benefits are guaranteed for life. How are we funded? How are we going to pay those benefits? Well, we're funded by three different sources. We are funded first by employee contributions. And so every time you get paid on your paycheck, there's a deduction. It either says Lasers or retirement, but it's a deduction on your paycheck. That is you contributing funds, a certain percentage of your salary to Lasers so that you can be a member of Lasers. That is you paying your part in membership in the Laser system. We're also funded by employer contributions. So every time that you get paid, your agency or your employer, they submit a certain percentage of contributions based on your salary to Lasers. And then our investment team take those contributions, they invest them, and we're funded by investment earnings. Whenever we go to calculate your retirement benefit, it is a defined benefit and it is based on a defined formula. And the way that we're going to calculate that benefit, we're going to multiply three factors together. We're going to multiply your years of service credit by your accrual rate, by your final average compensation, or your final average salary. Once we do that calculation, that is your retirement benefit, and it is paid to you guaranteed for life. Let's define those three factors, because essentially, if you know these three factors, you can multiply them yourself and you can calculate what your maximum monthly benefit would be. So service credit is the total of all earned, transferred, reciprocated, and purchased years of service used to determine both when you're eligible to begin receiving a retirement benefit and to calculate what your retirement benefit will be. So there are two types of service credit. There is service credit that goes towards eligibility, and there is service credit that goes towards computation or calculation of your benefit. For most of us who have worked full-time for our state careers, then our service credit for eligibility and computation are typically going to be the same. For every year of eligibility, we have a year of computation. The only time that it may be different is if you ever worked part-time or if you ever purchased time or anything like that. So the first is service credit. The second factor is accrual rate, and this is the percentage that is set by statute that is earned for every year of service used when we calculate what your monthly benefit is. The percentage of your accrual rate is going to be determined based on the retirement plan that you are enrolled in. And so Lasers manages 23 different retirement plans. That is a lot of retirement plans. I know just in this morning's presentation, we have members from 5 different retirement plans registered. I'm not sure if they're all in attendance, but I know that they registered. It is very important that you know what retirement plan you are in. If you do not know, the best way to find out is to go to that Member's Guide to Retirement, that book, and look up the retirement plans and read and figure out what retirement plan you are in. I do have a chart on the next slide that goes over it very briefly, but I'm not going to cover it in too much detail. So the accrual rate, that's the percentage that is earned, the percentage of your salary that is earned for every year that you work when we calculate your benefit, and it is based on your retirement plan. The third factor is final average compensation. This is the average compensation, so this is the average of your highest 36 or 60 consecutive worked months of salary. If there was a break in service, it's going to be the joined months. So your final average compensation or final average salary is the average of your highest 36 or 60 consecutive worked months at whatever point they are in your career. For a lot of us, job progression is pretty natural, and so our last years of employment are our higher paid years. However, the FAC, the final average compensation, we use the acronym FAC, that is going to be based on wherever those highest months are in your career. So it's not necessarily your last, it is the highest. So basically what this calculation means is that for every year of service, you are going to get a percentage of your final average compensation or your final average salary. So for every year of service, you receive a percentage of your average salary. That's how the calculation is done. And so let's just say you have 10 years of service and you have a 2.5% accrual rate. Then when you retire, 10 times 2.5% equals 25%. So when you retire, your monthly benefit is going to be 25% of your final average compensation or your final average salary. On slide 13, this is a quick chart just put together very quickly to help you kind of define those plans. These are for my members that were hired in a regular duty rank and file position. So you're not in a hazardous duty position, a corrections position, you're not post-certified, you don't have the power to arrest. You were hired in a regular duty rank and file position. How to determine which plan you're in is going to be determined by your date of hire. So my regular 1 members, if you were hired before July 1 of 06. My regular 2 employees, you had to be hired between July 1 of 06 to December 31 of 10. My regular 3, so based on your date of hire, you can determine which one of these plans you fall in. Then it's going to show you the contribution rate, your accrual rate, and when you are first eligible for retirement, for a regular non-reduced retirement or an actuarially reduced retirement. On the next slide, I've put together just a real quick chart for those members that are in a hazardous duty position. So these are the plans that they may be enrolled in. So that's a quick chart, but for more information and extra detail, go and check out that Member's Guide to Retirement. There is a chapter on the plans based on your hire date, and it defines everything for you. There are several types of retirement that you can choose from when you go to retire from Lasers. This morning specifically, we are going to talk about regular retirement. We're going to talk about the Deferred Retirement Option Plan, known as DROP. We will also cover the Initial Benefit Option, IBO. There are other types of retirement that we will not discuss, but if you wanted to get more information, you could attend one of our pre-retirement education programs, a PrEP, or you could go to our Members Guide. And those retirements are an actuarially reduced benefit, an out-of-state service or inactive retirement, or a disability retirement. Let's talk first about the Deferred Retirement Option Plan, known as DROP. And so what DROP is an optional retirement method that allows you to defer your retirement benefit for a maximum period of 36 months while you continue to work and receive your salary. Your first eligible date for regular non-reduced retirement is going to be your first eligible date for drop entry. So the day that you are eligible for regular non-reduced retirement is the day that you are eligible to enter drop. When your drop date starts, so when your first eligible date for drop entry starts, a 3-year and 60-day window opens. And so you have 3 years and 60 calendar days from your first eligible date in which you may participate in drop. Drop participation must take place during this window. You can only participate in drop one time and for no more than 36 months. If you elect to do drop, you cannot take an actuarially reduced retirement, an initial benefit option, or a disability retirement. So I've put together a little chart. These are some things to take into consideration when you're trying to decide, do I want to do drop? Let's talk about what happens when you go into drop. Or before we go into what happens, let me just kind of sum drop up. When I first started working at Lasers and I had to understand what drop was, the way that I understood it, or the way that I wrapped my head around it, was I kind of considered it like a savings, because what's going to happen is you're going to enter drop. You are going to lock your retirement benefit in. You are going to continue to work. That retirement benefit, the benefit we would have paid you had you actually retired, instead of paying it to you physically, we're going to take it and we're going to stick it in an account here at Lasers with your name on it. So it's kind of like a savings. You are going to continue working while Lasers is taking your retirement benefit and putting it in a savings for you. So there is no relationship change at all between you and your agency. There's no relationship change between you and Office of Group Benefits. There's nothing happening. There's no change. You continue to work. You continue to accrue leave. No change at all. Again, Office of Group Benefits, you're in drop, but you are continuing to participate in Office of Group Benefits. Where the change in relationship is between you and Lasers. Again, you are locking that retirement benefit in and you are continuing to work. Since you are locking that benefit in and we are paying it, we are not paying it to you physically, but to an account here at Lasers with your name on it, you are no longer going to pay employee contributions while you're in drop. Because you're not paying those employee contributions, you are not going to earn service credit. Right? Remember, you had to pay those contributions into Lasers to accrue that service credit. Well, during drop, you're not paying those contributions in. Therefore, you're not accruing service credit. So those contributions that you're paying into Lasers every paycheck, they are no longer coming to Lasers. They are actually showing back up on your check stub. You're essentially getting a raise, so to speak, to go into drop, because the contributions you're paying to Lasers will now no longer be paid to Lasers, but show up on your check. When you go into drop, at whatever point you terminate, you are considered retired. When you enter drop, your benefit is locked in based on your years of service, your final average compensation at the time and point that you enter drop. Future salary increases will not impact your drop benefit. You are eligible for performance adjustments, promotions, demotions. Remember, you're continuing to work, no change at your agency. It may be difficult to reach 100% of your final average compensation. So remember, I said that for every year you work, you get a percentage of your salary. Well, for those of us who have a 2.5% accrual rate, 40 years times 2.5% equals 100%. So if you wanted to retire with 100% of your salary, you would have to work 40 years. There's no eligibility that allows you to work 40 years and enter drop, right? So if you're trying to get to that 100%, entering drop may make it impossible or just very difficult. What you're doing is you're creating that lump sum account for when you retire. You have that kind of savings. The balance of that lump sum is going to be determined by the number of months in which you participate in drop. There is no interest paid on that drop money while you are in drop. You do continue to accrue leave, so leave is not taken into consideration. You're also eligible to change employers if there's no break in service. So those are all things that happen and things for you to take into consideration when you go into drop. Again, how is the drop account funded? The monthly benefit that would have been paid to you if you had actually retired is instead placed in a drop account at Lasers while you continue employment. So essentially, if you were to, on your first eligible date, you were to retire, you were to say, I'm leaving, I'm retiring, I don't want to work anymore. We would calculate your monthly benefit. You would retire. We would start paying you that monthly benefit to your checking account every month. When you go into drop, for all intents and purposes, you are retiring, you're locking that benefit in. It is that same benefit. However, instead of you actually retiring, you continue to work. And so instead of us putting your retirement benefit in your checking account, we put it in your drop account. So you are working while you save up to 36 months of your retirement benefit. So those are the monies that create that drop account. Oftentimes I hear, Wendy, isn't it my contributions that I pay into Lasers that make up my drop account? No, it is not. Those contributions, remember, are not being paid. They show back up on your check. I will tell you that you do not have the ability to access your drop funds until you actually retire or separate service. Remember I told you that there's a 3-year, 60-day drop window that opens on your first eligible date for regular non-reduced retirement. So let's just take a look at it. So on your first eligible date for regular non-reduced retirement, your drop window opens. 3 years and 60 calendar days later, your drop window closes. What these dates mean is that under no circumstance can you participate in drop 1 day before your drop window opens, and in no way can you participate in drop 1 day beyond your drop window closing. So there is a window in which you must participate in drop. Remember, you can only participate once and only for 36 months. You do have 60 days from your first eligible date in which you can say, I want to join drop and participate for the full 36 months. We call this your 60-day grace period. So if you go into drop on your first eligible date, 36 months later, you will come out. If you go into drop on the last day of your grace period, 36 months later, you will come out. So what happens if you miss your grace period? What happens if you do not get into drop during this 60-day grace period? Can you still enter drop? And I will go ahead and I will let you know that, yes, you can enter drop beyond your 60-day grace period. However, it just shortens the amount of time in which you can participate in drop. So if you miss that 60-day grace period, you may still enter drop, but you can only participate in the amount of time left. You are going to reduce the amount of time in which you can participate. So if I enter drop on this day right here, well, I'm beyond my 60-day window, right? I can enter drop, but I can only participate for this amount of time. That is a common misconception that people say, Wendy, I've missed my 60 days. I cannot enter drop. That is not the truth. You just can't do the full 36 months because remember, the last day of your grace period, 36 months later is when that window closes. So you have to enter drop within that 60-day grace period to do the full 36 months. However, if you miss that 60-day grace period, you can enter drop. It's just going to lessen the amount of months in which you can participate. And let's look at the next couple of slides. It's going to be an example. So the following example illustrate the same exact drop window, but just different entries. So we're going to use Trent. We're going to look at 3 examples of Trent. Trent's first eligible date for regular retirement or drop entry is October 1 of 2025. His final average compensation is $4,300. So Trent's drop window is going to open on his first eligible date, October 1 of 2025. 3 years and 60 calendar days later, it is going to close. So it opens October 1, 2025. 3 years and 60 days later, November 28, 2028, it closes. His 60-day grace period closes on November the 29th of 2025. So we know a couple of things. We know that Trent cannot enter drop 1 day prior to October 1 of 2025. Trent cannot participate in drop 1 day beyond November 28th of 2028. And he cannot participate for more than 36 months. So in this first example, Trent is going to enter drop on his first eligible date. He has 25 years of service. So his drop participation is not going to be reduced, right? He enters on his first eligible date. He comes out 36 months later on September 30th of 2028. It's not reduced. He's able to do his full 36 months. So we're going to calculate Trent's drop benefit. We're going to take that formula, right? That calculation. We're going to take his years of service times his accrual rate times his FAC. His maximum monthly benefit, $2,687.50. Trent is going to work for 36 months, and we're going to put $2,687.50 in his drop account for 36 months. At the end of drop, Trent is going to retire. So at the end of Trent's 36 months, on September 30th of 2028, he comes out and he retires. So now what does it look like for Trent? Well, Trent's monthly benefit, the amount that we are going to place into Trent's checking account every month for the rest of his life, is that $2,687.50, right? It is the amount that he locked in when he went into drop. And additionally, Trent is going to have an account completely separate of his monthly benefit that has $96,750 in it. So Trent retires, and we take the $2,687.50, and instead of placing it in his drop account, we place it in his checking account. And he also has access to an account with $96,750. They are completely separate of each other. They have nothing to do with each other. He's getting that monthly benefit forever. In the next example, Trent doesn't go into drop on his first eligible date, but he goes into drop on the last day of his 60-day grace period. Because he goes in, he does 36 months, and he is coming out on the date that his drop window closes. Therefore, his drop period is not reduced. He went in on that last day of the grace period, so he gets to do all 36 months. When we go to calculate Trent's drop benefit, we're going to use the formula. However, because Trent worked for these 60 days and paid contributions in, he earned a little bit more service credit. So Trent now has 25.2 years of service credit, and so his drop benefit is $2,709. We are going to take that, we are going to put that in Trent's drop account for every month that he is in drop. On November 28, 2028, he comes out of drop and he retires. He goes to the house. So now Lasers is going to take that $2,709 that they were putting in his drop account every month, and they are going to put that in his checking account every month. That is his retirement benefit. In addition, he has an account completely separate of his monthly benefit with $97,524. And again, those are both his to do. Well, that lump sum is his to do with whatever he'd like to do with it. And in our third example, Trent misses his 60-day window. He didn't realize that he was eligible for drop. So now it's April 1 of 2026, and he enters drop. Well, we know that he must come out November 28 of 2028, right? He doesn't have to retire, but he has to come out of drop. In this example, he chooses to retire. So Trent's drop participation period is lessened. So he can only participate in 30 months of drop versus 36. Now we're going to calculate his drop benefit, and he's worked all of that time. So now Trent has 25.5 years of service credit. So his monthly benefit, or his drop benefit, $2,741.25. So we place that in Trent's drop account for 30 months. At the end of that time, Trent retires. We now put the $2,741.25 in Trent's checking account, and he has a lump sum balance in a separate account, $87,537.25. So thank you for answering and participating. However, if you miss your 60-day window, you may still enter drop, but you may only participate for the amount of time left. So depending on how much of that window you missed, if it's now here and you realize you were able to go into drop, is it going to be worth it to enter drop for that short of a period? I don't know. Those are things you would have to take into consideration. When you're eligible, you're going to apply for drop. You're going to go to the human resource of your agency. You are going to select your retirement option. You're going to select your retirement option beneficiary. You're going to select your drop account beneficiary. You're going to select your drop start date and your end date. Now, you are specifically going to put a drop start date. There's not going to be a specific end date. And let me just show you. This is what the drop application looks like. And so here it says your drop start date. You are going to specifically put your drop start date. And then your end date, you are going to select one of two options. And the first option is that you wish to participate in the maximum number of months allowed, or you wish to participate for less than, and you are going to put a specific number of months in which you wish to participate. So you either select the maximum or you put a specific number. Let's talk about that participation period. So the participation period is the time within the window in which you designate to take part in drop. You have to select your participation by selecting one of two options. Again, that first option, participate in the maximum number of months allowed. If you get in on your first eligible date and you have 36 months, you can say, I elect to work for the maximum amount of months. However, you are not locked in. You are not obligated to work those full 36 months. You can end drop at any time by simply terminating employment. You say you want to participate in drop for 36 months, and 12 months into drop, something happens and you just don't want to work anymore. You can't work, whatever reason, you have to terminate your employment. You absolutely can. There's no penalty. It's just that the balance of your drop account is only going to be times the number of months that you participated. So I know that's another common rumor out there, that you have to work the number of months that you select. That is not the truth. You can always leave by simply terminating employment. Another thing is that you can select that you choose to participate for the maximum time allowed, even if you are beyond that 60-day grace period. So even if you're beyond that 60-day grace period and you select the maximum number, that means that we're going to allow you to work until the very end of that drop window. The second option is where you say that you're going to work less than the maximum and you are going to enter a number. You enter a number of months. Again, once you enter that number of months, once your drop date has been selected and started, you cannot change that number of months. You do not have to participate in that number of months. You are not obligated. Again, you can simply stop drop or end drop by terminating employment. So if you say you're going to do 18 months of drop, and again, 12 months in, for whatever reason, you no longer can participate in drop, you can leave. I use the old adage, you can always leave early, you just can't stay late. And let me explain what I mean by that. If you select a specific number of months, you're not obligated to fill or complete that number of months. However, if you select a specific number of months, and when that number of months ends, if you still have time in your drop window, which you can participate, you're not going to be able to. You must come out at the date in which you specify that you were going to come out. And so let's say you enter drop and you specify that you're going to participate for 12 months. And at the end of the first 12 months, you say, well, this drop thing isn't so bad. I think I want to do another 12 months. You cannot. You cannot, because you specifically entered 12 months. You must come out when that 12 months is over. So let's look at that regular retirement versus a drop. And so we're now going to look at our friend Michael. And so in this example, Michael is going to retire on his first eligible date, and he is going to opt to not participate in drop. So we are going to calculate Michael's benefit. We're going to calculate his 25 years, his accrual rate, his final average. So Michael's monthly benefit, $2687.50. Michael leaves on his first eligible date. We take $2687.50. We place that in Michael's checking account every month for the remainder of his life. He does not have an account with a lump sum amount of money, or he doesn't have a drop account with a lump sum amount of money because he did not participate in drop. In the next example, instead of actually retiring, leaving and going to the house, Michael is going to enter drop. He is going to continue working for that 36 months and then leave. So when he goes into drop, we're going to calculate the same benefit, right? We're calculating, because the drop account is funded by the benefit you would have received had you actually retired, instead of being paid to you, is being put in an account at Lasers with your name on it. So we calculate his drop benefit. He works for 36 months. He comes out. We now put $2687.50 a month, every month, in Michael's checking account, and he has that drop account with that lump sum money of $96,750. So that's how the drop works. Let's look at ending drop. So if you, to end drop, remember I simply said you either have to work and complete your full participation period, or you can just terminate employment. What happens if you terminate employment during your drop participation period? Well, you are immediately considered retired, right? Because you locked that retirement benefit in. You selected your option, named your beneficiary. So you terminate employment and you are considered immediately retired. At this point, because you're actually leaving, that's when you're going to make an election of what you want to do with that second annual leave. You will begin receiving your monthly benefit. You do forfeit any remaining months in your drop window, which you would have been able to participate. And because you separated service, you are able to both manage and withdraw your drop funds. Upon completing your drop participation period, you have one of two options. The first option is just like terminating during drop. It's to retire. And again, you terminate employment. You make a unused leave selection. You begin receiving your monthly benefit. You can manage and withdraw your drop funds. So at the end of your drop participation period, you retire and you go on to the house. Or you can elect to work after drop. If you work after drop, then you will just continue employment. You will resume paying contributions into Lasers. You will begin accruing service credit. The monthly deposit into your drop account will cease because you're no longer in drop, and you are able to manage your drop funds, but you are not able to withdraw them because you haven't separated employment. You haven't terminated employment. So working after drop, you come out of drop, you start paying contributions, you start accruing service credit, and you are just continuing to work. You must work at least 13 days after drop to get a supplemental benefit. And so if you work at least 13 days after drop, when you actually terminate, we will calculate a supplemental benefit for you for the time you have worked after drop, and we will add it on to the benefit, your drop benefit that you locked in. Your drop benefit that you locked in is not recalculated. It stays the same. It doesn't change. What will happen is another supplemental benefit is calculated on its own and then added to that original drop benefit. If you were hired in a regular duty position on or before June 30 of 2006, if you work less than 36 months after drop, then when we calculate your supplemental benefit, we use your pre-drop FAC. If you work 36 months or more, when we calculate your supplemental benefit, we use your post-drop FAC. And only the time after drop is going to be calculated by that post-drop FAC. If you're in that hazardous plan, or if you were hired on or after July 1 of 2006, if you work less than 60 months, we calculate using the pre-drop FAC. You work 60 months or more, we calculate using the average of the 60 months that you've worked after drop. We are going to use the same exact calculation to calculate that supplemental benefit as we did the drop benefit. And so here we have again our friend Michael. So let's look at Michael. In this situation, Michael decides that he is not going to terminate at the end of drop. He is going to continue to work after drop. He was hired prior to July 1 of 2006. So remember, when Michael went into drop, we calculated his drop benefit. This is his drop benefit. It is not going to change. He also has a drop account with that lump sum money. On the left-hand side, Michael is going to come out of drop and he's going to work for 2 years after drop. Because he worked for less than 36 months after drop, when we calculate his benefit, we're going to use his pre-drop FAC. So we multiply the 2 years times the 2.5% times the pre-drop FAC. That is a benefit of $215. So we take his original drop benefit. It doesn't change. We add to it the amount of the supplemental benefit. And so Michael's monthly benefit at retirement, $2,902.50. On the right-hand side, Michael is going to come out of drop and he is going to work for 4 years after drop. Because he has worked 36 months or more after drop, when we calculate his supplemental benefit, we will use his post-drop FAC. And so it appears that since Michael went into drop, he has gotten an increase in his salary, right? Pre-drop FAC was at $4,300. Post-drop is $4,800. So we are going to take and calculate only the years he worked after drop times his 2.5% accrual rate times his post-drop FAC. That gives him an additional $480. So we are going to take his original drop benefit, right? His drop benefit is not recalculated. It does not change. And we will add to it that supplemental benefit. So Michael's monthly benefit, $3,167.50. So just realize that that benefit you lock in when you go into drop is you are locking that benefit in based on your years of service and your salary up to the point in which you enter drop. The years after drop are completely separate. So we're not going to say, okay, Michael worked 25 years pre-drop, 4 years post-drop. Well, now Michael has 29 years times his post-drop FAC. That is not how it works. It doesn't piggyback. It is two completely separate calculations. And so that drop benefit to retirement, based on everything that you've seen, that whenever he ends drop, the amount of that drop benefit becomes that monthly retirement benefit, right? The benefit you lock into drop is your retirement benefit. Only way that it is going to change is if you convert that unused sick and annual leave if you purchase additional years of service while you're in drop, or if you work after drop and get that supplemental benefit. So just know that benefit you lock in, that your drop benefit is your retirement benefit. The only way to change it is to convert leave, purchase years, or work after drop to get that supplemental money. When you come out of drop, regardless of if you terminate employment or continue working, what happens by law is your drop funds are transferred to the Laser Self-Directed Plan managed for us by Empower. You do not, they transfer over. It's a non-taxable transfer. What happens is the funds transfer, they go into a stable value fund. Once they're in that stable value fund, they are your monies to do with what you want as far as managing them. You do not have access to withdraw any of those drop monies until you actually terminate employment. So if you continue to work after drop, and those funds transfer over to the self-directed plan, you can manage them, meaning you can diversify, you can change the investments, you can do whatever you'd like as far as managing them. You just cannot withdraw them. And so Empower is the same financial institution that if you have a deferred compensation account, they are who manages your deferred compensation account. So your drop funds would go to that same financial institution. It would just be that you have two separate accounts. You would have your drop account and you would have your deferred comp account. And if you have your deferred comp account and you manage that, or you let them manage that, you can do the same exact thing with your drop account. Now, let me tell you, when you retire, as long as you live in the state of Louisiana, when you receive your monthly retirement benefit, it is going to be Louisiana state income tax exempt. The same holds true for your drop funds, as long as they stay in the Laser Self-Directed Plan. So your drop funds stay in that Laser Self-Directed Plan. You remain living in Louisiana. When you withdraw funds from the self-directed plan, they are going to be Louisiana state income tax exempt. If you take those funds and you transfer them to another financial institution, you absolutely can do that once you separate, because they are your monies to do with what you want. However, they are no longer protected under the Laser's self-directed plan, so they are no longer state income tax exempt. You would then be responsible for paying state tax. So drop is a lot, and there's kind of certain stages of drop. So again, we've put together a little chart to kind of go over the different stages. Let's talk about drop entry. Remember, the benefit is locked in at the time of drop entry. You are going to select your participation period. You select your retirement option. That is irrevocable. You select your retirement option beneficiary. That may be revocable. You also select your drop beneficiary. And your drop beneficiary can be different than your retirement option beneficiary. Your drop beneficiary can be multiple beneficiaries and can be changed, whereas your retirement option beneficiary, depending on the option that you select, it will not be able to name multiple and you will not be able to change it. So that's at drop entry. During drop, you do not pay contributions into lasers. You do not earn service credit. You continue to work. You continue to receive your salary. You continue to accrue leave. You're eligible for pay adjustments. You're eligible to change agencies as long as there's no break in service. And interest is not earned on those monies while you are participating in drop. Upon ending drop, you either go ahead and retire or you continue to work after drop. Regardless of which you select, your drop funds are transferred to the self-directed plan at Empower. Once you've retired, separated employment, you are able to withdraw those funds. If you go ahead and retire at the end of drop, you will begin receiving your monthly benefit. If you continue to work after drop, you start paying those contributions, earning service credit, and possibly and hopefully have a supplemental benefit added to the calculation of your the benefit you locked in when you went into drop. So let's go ahead and pick up where we left off. And so let's talk about that initial benefit option, or IBO. And often I'll have someone say, Wendy, I don't know what IBO is. I've never even heard of it. You know, what is it? So let's talk about what it is. Initial benefit options, an optional retirement plan that allows you to receive a lump sum equivalent up to 36 times your maximum monthly benefit at the time of retirement. There is a one-time election. So once you're eligible for regular non-reduced retirement, you can terminate and retire with lump sum money. The maximum amount that you can get is 36 times your maximum monthly benefit. You can't receive a lump sum amount more than that. You can receive a lump sum less than that, but not more than. And be sure to know that if you elect IBO and you take lump sum money up front, you are going to reduce your monthly retirement benefit, and it's going to reduce it for the remainder of your life. And this is where I get earmuffs, right? People say, Wendy, you said reduced benefit. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know about it. I guarantee you that IBO is the absolute best option for some of my members out there. And again, that's why I ask you just to be open-minded, just to listen so that you are educated. And when you make your decision, you feel confident and knowing that you got the information, you're making the best decision you can with all of the information you received. If you elect to do IBO, you cannot change that decision, and you cannot change the dollar amount. You cannot do drop, disability retirement, or actuarially reduced retirement and take an IBO. But what you didn't see on here is inactive. So you can take IBO with an inactive retirement. And what I mean by that is, I'll just use myself for example. I'm a regular 2-plan member. My first eligible date for regular non-reduced retirement or drop entry or the ability to do IBO is my 60th birthday. I must have 5 years of service and I must be 60 years old. Well, right now I have 18 years of service, but I am not 60 years old. Therefore, I am not eligible to retire, right? So I either have to continue to work until I'm 60, or I terminate employment and I leave all of my money, all of my contributions, all of my years in lasers. And on my 60th birthday, I call lasers and I say, I'm ready to start collecting my retirement benefit. That's an inactive retirement. I wasn't an active employee at the time I started collecting my retirement. If I elect to do an inactive retirement, I can't do drop, right? Because you had to continue working to participate in drop. With IBO, you do not participate. You do not continue to work. You retire at any time once you're eligible and take lump sum. So let's just say I terminate employment today, September, what is it? The 14th, 13th of 2023, and I retire on my 60th birthday. So there's going to be a lot of years between this date and this date, right? So I quit today. I quit working. I say goodbye. I move off to an island. I don't work for a lasers position ever again in my life. But when I terminate, I leave all of my money, all of my contributions and years in lasers. Well, when I turn 60 on my 60th birthday, I will have 18 years, right? So I'll meet the eligibility, 5 years at 60. So I call lasers, I start collecting my benefit. If I want lump sum money, I can't do IBO. I'm sorry, I can't do drop, but I can do IBO. So inactive members are able to take lump sum money up front by electing an IBO. And again, this says retire at anytime, once you're eligible for non-reduced. So with initial benefit option, you continue working until you retire. So you can leave at your first eligible date, or you can work 10 years beyond your first eligible date. You don't make that election to take the IBO until you actually retire. So if you are not in drop and you are just going to continue working, you are going to pay contributions and you are going to earn service credit up to the date in which you retire. Your retirement benefit is actually reduced for life, and the reduction is based on your age and the amount of lump sum taken. There is no window in which you must participate. So remember, I told you 40 times 2.5% is 100%. Well, if you wanted to work 40 years and get to 100%, you could then still do IBO, right? So that's something to take into consideration. The amount of your IBO, your FAC is going to, I'm sorry. So when you retire, again, your salary, your service credit is calculated at the time of separation. Your IBO account balance is going to be determined by the amount you select. The IBO account funds, just like the drop funds, they are transferred over to the self-directed plan at Empower in a two-part transfer. Within 45 days of effective date of retirement, the first 80% of those funds will transfer over. Approximately 90 days later, the remaining 20% of those funds will transfer over. Remember, it is by law. You do not have to do anything for the transfer to happen. The transfer is non-taxable. Those monies go into that stable value fund. And once those monies are at Empower, you have access to either manage or withdraw those funds, right? At whatever point they get there. When you want to apply for the initial benefit option, you will get the application from your human resource. You're going to select your retirement option beneficiary, your IBO account beneficiary, what you wish to do with your leave, and then you are going to select an IBO amount. Remember, I said you can take up to 36 times your maximum monthly benefit, but you can also take less. So on that application, you are going to check the box that says you want to take the maximum, or you're going to check the box that where you are going to enter a specific dollar amount. So, and that dollar amount cannot be more than 36 times your maximum monthly benefit. Again, because you've separated service, you can withdraw those funds from your account once the transfer has been completed. All withdrawals and account changes must be made through Empower. You can manage those funds, and like the drop funds, as long as the IBO funds remain in that self-directed plan managed by Empower and you live in the state of Louisiana, your withdrawal is going to be Louisiana state income tax exempt, because you can roll those funds over. However, you're not going to have that state income tax exemption. Let's talk more about withdrawal of those monies. And so let's talk about drop and IBO monies. So if you take any lump sum money payable to you, that money is considered taxable income. So this is what will happen. Whether you take $10, $10,000, $100,000, there are going to be tax implications. So whatever amount you withdraw, 20% will be held off the top. That is a mandatory federal income tax withholding. It is just like the taxes withheld on your paycheck, but instead of married into single and zero, it is a flat lump sum amount. When you file your taxes at the next year, you settle that up. If you fall in the 15% tax bracket, you paid 20, you get 5% back. You fall in the 30% tax bracket, you pay 20, you owe 10%. So this is just to cover your tax liability. It doesn't mean you owe all 20%, but it doesn't mean you may not owe more. You take out all $100,000 in 1 year, then your taxable income is going to be much higher. Therefore, you may be in a higher tax bracket. Again, this is tax. This is tax no matter what. Now, in addition to tax, a federal early withdrawal penalty will apply if lump sum is received before age 59 and a half. So if you take that lump sum money payable to you prior to age 59 and a half, they're going to withhold the 20%. Then when you file your taxes, you're going to settle that 20%, but you will owe that 10% penalty with some exceptions. So exceptions to the 10% federal early withdrawal penalty are if you separate from service during the calendar year in which you reach 55 or later. So separate from service January 1 of the year you turn 55 or later, then you have access to those lump sum monies with no age restrictions and no penalties. For my public safety employees, my hazardous members, it's age 50. If you separate service January 1 of the year you turn 50, then you have access to those lump sum monies with no age restrictions and no penalties. So if you separate service the year in which you reach 55, turn 55, or 50 for my hazardous members, you have access to lump sum monies, no age restrictions, no penalties. The other way to avoid that early withdrawal penalty is to roll those funds over to a qualified plan and just don't access them or don't withdraw any of them until you are age 59 and a half. Now let's look at the regular retirement versus the IBO. So we still have our friend Michael, and we've gone through a lot with him already, right? So Michael's going to retire on his first eligible. He's not going to do IBO. We know Michael's benefit $2687.50. He retires. We put that in his account every month. He doesn't have an IBO account because he didn't take any IBO money up front. In our next example, Michael is going to retire, and he is going to take IBO lump sum of the maximum amount. So we're going to calculate his benefit, $2687.50. He's going to take 36 times that. So when he retires, he will have an IBO account with $96,750. And his monthly retirement benefit, instead of $2687.50, will be $1972.76. So he took that lump sum money up front and reduced his benefit for life. In the next example, Michael is going to elect to take a lesser amount than the maximum. So Michael is going to elect to take only $45,000 in IBO lump sum. So again, we calculate his monthly benefit. We don't have to worry about this because we do. We have to know that he can't take more than this, right? But he elects to take this. So when Michael retires, he has in his IBO account $45,000, and his monthly benefit is reduced from $2687.50 to $2355.06. So it's still reduced, but it is not reduced to $1972.76, right? So that was with the max. So he doesn't want to take all $97,000 and reduce his benefit to here. He takes $45,000 and reduces his benefit here. So how much or how little you take will directly correlate to how high or low your benefit will be. Now let me say this. If you make this election at time of retirement, it is irrevocable. It can't be changed. You can't come back at a later date and say, I want $45,000 more dollars. There is not $45,000 more dollars. There are no more dollars. And that's because essentially you didn't take them, so they showed back up in your monthly benefit, right? They showed back up by your monthly benefit not being as reduced. And this is a chart to show you those reductions. So let's actually look at some examples of a member trying to decide, do they want to do drop or do they want to do IBO? First, we're going to look at Wanda. Wanda is eligible on April 1 of 2024 with 25 years of service. She is trying to decide, should she go into drop and work 36 months and retire, or should she just continue to work 36 months and retire with a maximum IBO? In either scenario, she is going to retire effective April 1 of 2027. She is working 3 more years either way. So in this first example, she's going to participate in drop. We are going to calculate her benefit at the time she enters drop. So we do her 25 years times her 2.5% times her FAC, her maximum monthly benefit, $2,343.75. When Wanda comes out of drop and retires, her maximum monthly retirement benefit that we put into her checking account every year is $2,343.75. In her drop account, she has a lump sum amount, $84,375. And while she continued to work for those 36 months, she did not pay any contributions. So she retires on April 1 of 2027. Right? She did her 3 years in drop. She comes out and she retires April 1 of 2027. Her monthly benefit, $2,343.75. She didn't pay any contributions for those 3 years while she was in drop. And she has a drop account, $84,375. In the next example, Wanda is going to elect to work 36 more months. And she is going to retire, and she's going to take the maximum IBO amount. So she is going to retire on April 1. Oh, I'm sorry, it is right here. She retires on April 1 of 2027. So we're going to calculate her benefit. She continued to work those 3 years, so now she has 28 years of service credit. She even got a slight increase in salary, so we're going to use that FAC. She locks in her benefit, the maximum benefit, $2,782.50. So she wants to take 36 times that. And remember, she paid contributions into lasers for those 3 years. So when she leaves on April 1 of 2027, her monthly retirement benefit, $2,014.14. In her IBO account, she has a lump sum amount of money, $100,170. So let's look at those two scenarios side by side. The drop scenario is on the left-hand side. The IBO is going to be on the right. So with drop, Wanda's maximum monthly benefit is $2,343.75. With IBO, her maximum monthly benefit, $2,014. With drop, her drop account has $84,375. Her IBO account has $100,170. However, she paid no contributions while she was in drop. She paid $10,000 in contributions while she did IBO. So if you want to look at it kind of apples to apples, she retires and she has a monthly benefit, $2,343.75, but she paid no contributions into lasers. So instead of paying that $10,000 into lasers, she essentially saved that $10,000. She either put it in her deferred comp account or it showed back up on her check and she spent it. But either way, that's $10,000 that she did not pay to lasers by going into drop. So if you think of it and you add that $10,000 back, then this account is equivalent to $94,375, right? Because here she had $100,000, but she paid lasers $10,000. So if you consider that and take that out, then we're looking at, and I just rounded the 1053, right? So if you do kind of an apples to apples comparison, Well, here she came up with more money. So essentially here her drop account is larger if you take that into consideration, and her monthly benefit is larger. Wanda may very well decide that she wants to participate in drop. Now let's look at our friend Megan. Megan is also eligible to retire April 1 of 2024, and she only has 5 years of service credit. She's trying to determine the same exact thing. Should she enter drop and work for 36 months, or should she continue to work for 36 months and take a maximum IBO lump sum? Either way, she retires April 1 of 2027. Let's look at Megan going into drop. We're going to calculate her benefit. 5 years times her 2.5% times her FAC, her maximum monthly benefit. Then we take that, we multiply it by 36 because she participated in drop for 36 months. She didn't pay any contributions in for those 3 years. So when Megan retires, her monthly benefit, $468.75, and she has a lump sum drop account, $16,875. In our next example, Megan is going to work until 2027. She's going to do IBO. She's worked 3 more years, so she has 8 years. She too has gotten an increase in her FAC. We calculated her monthly benefit, her max monthly benefit, $795. The maximum lump sum IBO she can take, $28,620, and she paid $10,000 into lasers while she continued to work those 36 months. So when she retires on April 1 of 2027, her monthly benefit, $575.47, with a lump sum, $28,620. So let's look at the scenarios side by side. By drop, monthly benefit, $468.75, IBO, $575.47. The drop account balance, $16,875. The IBO account balance, $28,620. Contributions paid in drop, none. Contributions paid in IBO, $10,000. So again, if you kind of take that into consideration, then you're looking at so here her monthly benefit is much higher with IBO. And with IBO, her drop account, I'm sorry, her lump sum money that she has is less than with the drop. However, by getting this much more a month, she's going to make up for that difference in no time at all. Plus, she might want to continue working. Maybe she gets some more increases in her salary. So Megan, having only 5 years of service, may decide that she wants to take the IBO versus the drop. So those are the differences, and that's what you have to do for yourself. You have to take both scenarios, put them side by side, and figure out what is best for you. How long, there are some really important decisions to think about. How long do you plan on working for the state? Do you foresee any significant increases in salary? Do you want to reach 100% of your FAC? So are you going to get that significant increase? Do you want a lump sum amount of money? If so, how much? How old are you going to be when you retire? Those are all definitely things to take into consideration. So be open-minded and just be willing to look at all scenarios. I want to ask you to stay connected. We have Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You can sign up for emails. Your attendance and participation is greatly appreciated. If you enjoyed and you learned anything, which I certainly hope that you did, spread the word to fellow employees. So on behalf of myself and Carlos, the education department, I want to thank you and tell you to have a great day, and bye.